Okay, so if I want to go to the South Pole, how do I get there on a flat Earth?
By going to.
You don't think Satan can pull that off?
Satan.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you something else.
Now it's Satan.
Will Duffy raised his fist high, took the naysayers on a wild ride to the land of eternal light, where shadows never hide. Across the icy plains they roamed, searching truth where glaciers loom. Flat earthers full of pride saw their beliefs consumed, and his name is Will Duffy. Changed the game, changed it swiftly. Now they see the world ain't flat. Thank Will Duffy for that.
Where is the South Pole?
Antarctic sun shone bright and clear. Round the clock, no dark, no fear. Minutes turned to hours flown. Truth loud like the wind's groan. Eyes widen, no more lies. Humbled by the endless skies. They felt the world turn beneath. Admitted false belief. And his name is Will Duffy. Changed the game. Changed it swiftly. Now they see the world ain't flat. Thank Will Duffy for that.
The so-called final experiments 24-hour Antarctic sun was just another faked event recorded on a film set.
Eyes widen, no more lies. Humbled by the endless skies. They felt the world turn beneath. Admitted false belief. And his name is Will Duffy. Changed the game. Changed it swiftly. Now they see the world ain't flat. Thank Will Duffy for that. Oh, they see the world ain't flat. Thank Will Duffy for that.
Satan.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you something else.
Now it's Satan who disguised himself as a ball of light and circled me in Antarctica.
Welcome. How you doing?
Good, thanks for having me.
Listen, I know I said this to you off camera. I'm really, really appreciative of giving you, of you giving me your time. That went wrong, didn't it? Really appreciative of you giving me your time today. I know you're a man in demand at the minute, so honestly, thank you very much for that. For everyone else out there, we've got an hour with Will Duffy. He doesn't need an introduction. You're all here because you know who he is. So essentially, we're going to talk a little bit about the final experiment. We're going to talk a little bit about biblical flat earth and creation and creationism as well. And obviously, I've got questions from channel members and the chat. I'm sure you want to dip in as well. So given we've got an hour, I'm just going to dive straight into it. Is that okay, Will?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
Okay. So my first question to you comes wrapped in an apology. Okay. So like I said, I used to make flat earth content a couple of years ago. Haven't touched it since. And when the final experiment was announced, I was interviewed by a couple of other channels, one of them being You Are Mocked, who I think is in the chat, fantastic channel. And they asked me, what do you think will come out of the final experiment? And I poo-pooed it. I said, nothing will come out of it. The poor bloke is wasting his money. They'll go down to Antarctica. They will definitely see the 24-hour sun. And then all the flat earthers will come back and go, okay, makes no difference because we didn't have a map to debunk anyway. And it will be a complete waste of time. And I was completely wrong. So one, I apologize for that. The question is, did it annoy you in the build-up to what you did that people were kind of scoffing at the idea, given the effect that it's had afterwards? Did that wind you up a bit?
Not really. So I'm a bit of a visionary. I've done a lot of big things in my life, not in this space, but I've done a lot of big things. And a common theme was always people telling me this won't work, you can't do this. And I usually can bring things through when I kind of set my mind to it. And so again, you're right. A lot of people on the globe side were telling me this will never work. They first started telling me that that no flat earthers would ever go. And obviously that would have been terrible. But we ended up having 4 flat earthers. Once flat earthers agreed to go, Globers started telling me, well, they'll never change their mind. And we now have, I've lost count of how many flat earthers have changed their mind and left flat earth. So yeah, it's been a wild success. I didn't doubt. I never had doubts. And I'm just so happy that it went through, and here we are.
But I am so chuffed it went through. I've seen a couple of super chats, Bobby, and I'll address any of those every 4 questions, just so you know I'm not ignoring them. I'll bring them up every 4 questions. That's question 1. Okay, question 2. You've got this grand plan. You've got this idea. You're determined to go through with it. You do go through with it, but you're taken down to what must have been quite a claustrophobic space. You're taking down people who are ideologically at war with each other, who, by the very nature of their beliefs, mistrust almost everybody. And at any point when you were going down, did you think this could go like really violent and nasty and pear-shaped? Did that ever cross your mind?
No, it didn't. There's this weird thing where people become much more negative and much more nasty online. But when you're face to face with someone, that kind of goes away. So I knew of the, tense issues between the sides, especially between, say, MC Toon and Austin Whitsitt. Mm-hmm. But I never thought there would be an issue. I never thought that I knew when we got together and started hanging out together, eating at restaurants together, that everything would be fine. And it was fine.
And so they handled it like adults should.
Yeah, definitely. And also that was also part of the spirit behind TFE is people have this, we probably all have had this at some point in our lives, but people have this idea that they're right and other people are wrong. And because someone is wrong, it makes them a bad person. And I'm trying to break those walls down. So here's the reality of the situation. Everybody in the world, everyone, we all disagree with each other. I've never met someone that agrees with me on everything. You can find someone that you can find something to disagree with every person on the planet. And here's the thing, we all think we're right and we all think that the other person is wrong. And so the reality is we all hold beliefs that are right. We all hold beliefs that are wrong. And same with people that we disagree with. They hold things that are right. They hold things that are wrong. And so I think this world would be a much better place if we were all open to mostly trying to find where we are wrong individually versus trying to show someone else why they're wrong. And so this whole idea of collaboration and getting together with TFE with both sides to see which side was right, I think is something cool, and I hope will be duplicated in the future.
No, that's great. That's great. If I keep looking away, I'm not checking the football scores or anything. I've got my questions on a different screen. So, and I was watching an old stream of me a while ago, and I was looking away, and it looked really rude, like I was just not paying attention. I'm looking at my questions. So, unless I look that way, in which case I'm no. Okay. Question 3. You do always come across as very new in the build up to the TFE. You came across not just as very polite, but as very, very neutral. You weren't coming out, as far as I could tell, and I might be wrong because I wasn't following it too much up until the results kind of came in, but anything I saw of you were always giving the impression that we're going to go down and we're going to see which side, flat earth or globe earth, the evidence lands on. You weren't saying we're going to go down and prove that the evidence is for the globe. So you were being very, very neutral. And inside, was there any doubt whatsoever, or was 100% you knew what was going to happen?
So I had zero doubt. Okay. I think it's tough to say that I knew 100% what would happen. But let me explain this because this is super important. None of us had been to Antarctica. I became convinced. So when I got into flat Earth, you start to hear these new arguments you've never heard before, right? My first thought, which is most people, I think, is when you hear about flat Earth is, well, we have pictures from space. Okay. Well, all of a sudden they start to put doubts in your mind. Well, those are fake and those are edited and CGI and Photoshop and all of that. So that's when I decided to look into it more. And I became convinced not only do we have pictures from space, we have satellites taking pictures of the Earth right now. And I knew for sure that I am on the right side on this issue on the globe. Now, without going to Antarctica, I was still confident and I was willing to put my money on the line. I was willing to put my reputation on the line. And there is something important here, which is that only the globe side showed confidence. The flat Earth side showed no confidence. They didn't want to go to Antarctica. They all of a sudden said going there is not a big deal. They changed their mind before we even went on how important the 24-hour sun was. And so whether they knew it or not, they were showing they don't have confidence in their model. We do. And it's now become clear to me there's very few examples, if any, of the flat Earth side showing confidence in their belief. And the only examples I can think of would be Bob Nodell and crew buying a gyroscope, and it ended up showing a globe. So they do not have the confidence. I was confident, and I think the entire globe side was as well.
I think a lot of that stems back. I mean, you're right. I mean, I knew you were going to see what you were going to see. And I think a lot of the lack of confidence with the flat earthers is that it becomes trendy with the flat earthers, and it has been for a while, to say, I'm not claiming I know anything. I'm not claiming I know this. So I'm not making predictions. I don't know what's going to happen. And I know they think they're being intellectually honest, but while they are saying the globe is impossible because of this, this, and this, when they can't provide even the most simple prediction, I don't know. To me, it's a bit of a cop out. I don't know. I don't know your thoughts on that, but I do think the flat Earth argument has become a little bit of a cop out.
They do make claims, even though they try not to, which is a strategy of theirs. They do make claims. They do claim the Earth is flat. They do claim that there's a dome. And so they can't back any of that up. If you ever wanted to debate a flat earther, just debate whether or not the Earth is flat and leave the globe out of it, and you'll quickly see that they have zero evidence.
Yeah, I haven't got any questions down here about your debates, but since you've mentioned that, I'm going to mention it. You have stuck around and you've hit the debate scene, haven't you? And done an exceptional job. I want to ask you about the Stephen Alonso one, because I was listening to that on my headphones at work the other day, and the amount of research you've done in the background on him, and the way you called him out for lying about being a pilot. How much research are you putting into these debates? Because that was pretty good stuff.
Yeah, so I am a researcher. I think that should be clear with what I did with TFE is I found the players. I didn't know anybody when I created this, but I found the players. I did the research. I figured out what the experiment would be. I do my research. If I'm going to do a debate against someone, I'm not going to walk in there. It's like I'm also an athlete, right? I would never go into a big game without being ready, and being ready is practice. And so, yeah, it's funny because I haven't heard any flat earthers yet come out and say Stephen Alonso is a bad person. He's a liar. I can't believe he would do all of this stuff. He just said, "Oh, I'm joking" or whatever. And it's like, wait a minute. I didn't want to reveal myself a week before I went public with TFE and ended up telling a guy on YouTube that I didn't know who was behind it, which was false, because I was trying to create this surprise, and they've hung me for that. And then here you've got Stephen Alonso, where everything is fake pilot, fake doctor, fake university in terms of having campuses, fake math. And he admits to it all and just says it's joking, and he gets a free pass.
Yeah, that was another thing, is maths. You must have gone through and done all the equations or something, because I remember when I was listening, you picked him up on a few of those, and the way he just brushed it off, like, oh, that's wrong, is it? Oh well, just right over his head. That's a problem for you, that, Mr. Alonso.
Yeah, just to give credit where credit is due, I wish I was like a mathematician, but I'm not. I'm sure your audience is familiar with Ruhif.
Oh, Ruhif, yeah, good guy.
Ruhif is amazing. He's the one that helped me find the flaws in Alonso's math.
Ruhif is brilliant. He's helped me with a few things in the past, and his attention to detail, and his maths is superb, isn't it? Absolutely superb, really high level. Okay, question 4, and then we'll hit some of the super chats that have come in. I think there's some questions there for you in them. So obviously the dust is settling a little bit. There's been a lot of different responses that have come back. A, how pleased are you? Did it meet your expectations in what you hoped you would achieve? And B, how angry are you with some of the handwave dismissals that some of the more prominent flat earthers have given it?
So I'm very happy with the results. Again, you don't know the future. You don't know what's going to happen. And everything just happened perfectly. We had Globers go. I mean, I couldn't have made that happen other than Dave McKeegan. They all used their own money. They crowdfunded. We had Flat Earthers go. We ended up having a documentary filmmaker go with us. There's a documentary coming. So just very happy with everything. The weather was fantastic. Dare I say perfect. And then as to the handwave dismissal, that is not ideal at first. But what I've come to realize, and I'm thankful for, is that is what is giving that final push to flat earthers to get out of the flat earth community, because they are now seeing who they were. So 3 flat earthers who are huge names in flat earth have all told me personally, Will, I didn't know it, but I was in a cult. One of them told me, not only was I in a cult and didn't know it, I was a cult leader and didn't know it. And so the same arguments that the flat earthers have been making about the moon landing, for example, where it's all fake and they're lying, now all of a sudden those arguments are being used against them. You weren't in Antarctica. You really didn't do this. And it's like, whoa, it's opening up their minds. And so I'm actually thankful for it.
Yeah, I heard Jaron, what's the word? Oh, God, my vocabulary's gone. But, oh, man, I can barely speak English. I forget the word. But I heard Jaron give his experience on that, where he spoke about a video he made about Tiger Dan. And actually, right while you were in Antarctica, I did make a video about Jaron's video about Tiger Dan, where Tiger Dan had talked about Antarctica. And at the time, years ago, Jaron had said, you're not allowed to go. You're all on cargo planes with no windows. They're going to fly you somewhere else. And he mentioned in one of his streams, I think it was last week, he was like, I was one of those guys saying those things. I said that I was, responsible for making people think, this way, which I think is probably a driver for why he's sticking around. And I respect that.
Yeah.
Trying to undo some of the things. Right. Well, we've got just a few super chats. I think there's a couple of questions for you, and then we'll jump back in. Okay. First of all, Clarence, the new member. Thank you, Clarence. So is Dr. Nimrod. Thank you very much. This one, I'm not sure whether this says, Will, as in you, please ask cats, what is a full moon and what is a new moon on your model? Or will you please ask cats?
No. I know what this is. So this is a question that I asked Austin Whitsitt. So I was on Jaronism before I had mentioned the final experiment publicly. And I had a discussion with Austin Whitsitt on there. And I asked him what was a full moon and what was a new moon. And he gave some answer, which I've been told is just complete made up. And so the person asking me to ask you this is referencing that question. And so it was fun.
Is that where the etherically displaced song that FTFE uses comes from?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Right. Okay. Listen, before I show this next one, I do have a history of debate, and we're going to talk about this later on, and I'm not here to hijack you or anything like that. But anyone who's followed me for the last few years knows I do have a history of debating not only flat earthers, but creationists as well, young earth creationists, etc., which will be the stem of this question. So why does a man who's young earth creationist get a theme song? Well, first of all, he gets a theme song because what he's done is absolutely amazing, and it's transformed the flat earth community. B, he gets a theme song because only this week I signed up to the AI thing that generates the theme songs, and from now on, everyone's going to get a theme song. What do you think of the song, by the way?
I thought it was great.
It is yours. I own the copyright to that, so use it as and when you want. And I've got the version without the little video clips I put in over as well. Effie is far from dead. Stop with the backslapping. Well, actually, I mean, you're always going to get in my opinion, and then obviously it's a question for you, really, Will. But in my opinion, you're never going to get every single flat earther to not be a flat earther. That's not going to be a thing. But you can never say any conspiracy theory is dead. Any bit of misinformation is dead, and I will agree with that. But has it had a huge whack, and have a lot of people come out the rabbit hole and can now get on with their lives? I think that's massively worth celebrating. That's just my opinion. What's your response, Will?
Yeah, definitely. So only time will tell the significant dent that TFE has put into flat earth, because if you want to try to, put something to bed, it's really a matter of how many people come to it now. And so flat earth is forever going to be BTFE and ATFE, before and after. And I find it very hard to believe that people will come to flat earth after the final experiment, considering what we've done and all the flat earthers that not only participated but have left flat earth because of it. And so time will tell. But yes, you're never going to get 100%. There's still people that believe that the Titanic didn't sink. Okay.
Yeah.
But in terms of, putting a significant dent into it and getting prominent flat earth leaders to say we were wrong, I just don't know if that's ever happened in this history of flat earth.
And that's a great point about acting as a shield to stop people falling into it, because what you did, if you search it, it was in the newspapers over here, like I don't know if I say newspapers, the Sun and the Mirror. If I say that, people in the chat will be like, they're not newspapers, but it was in the media over here, like the national media, and it's been in, in lots of different countries. And that's going to be in people's minds, not the fact that there are some people saying Satan did it, or it was a plasma laser thing on the dome. That's not what the world have heard. The world have heard the flat earthers have admitted they're wrong, which is brilliant.
Real quick. I want to make sure I actually emailed Professor Parks, who sent this super chat in. And I just want to make sure he saw it and it didn't go to his spam or anything. So I'm sure he's listening and he can go ahead and check.
Oh, so you two know each other?
No, but he made a video about me and I commented and he gave me his email and I sent him an email. So that's it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, this is another one from Professor Parks. How many people have left FE? Provide actual dates. I mean, it's you can't quantify that. How many, you can't quantify, but I think you'd have to be quite blind to see it's not made a significant impact. Anyway, it's a question for you. I'm jumping in, but
yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to keep a list, and it's approaching 24 of ones that I know and have confirmed, but we just won't know. But
also the channels people like Celebrate Truth and in a very for a story for another day. Celebrate Truth is part of the reason I got into the whole misinformation debunking to start with. He, with him leaving, Patricia Steele leaving, obviously Jaron leaving, the recruitment, as we said before, the recruitment power is vastly diminished, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely, and it's going to continue, because here's the big one: the flat Earth community is not responding to the data. They're not responding to the arguments. They're not responding to the observations we made. They're just continuing down this path of it's fake and you're lying and here's what you did. And so as long as they are not dealing with the issues, the fallout will continue.
Brilliant. Okay, you are mocked. Fantastic channel. We agree a lot more on what we disagree. I think that he posted that while you were saying before that we should work together rather than tell each other they're just wrong. Timo Lynch, disagrees with him. Derek, the dullard, absolute huge respect to Will for all he's done. And Clarence, a legend. Okay, Will, as a pastor, you've spent a lot of time studying the Bible and religious texts. So from a theistic point of view, does pineapple belong on a pizza?
You know, I actually do have a strong opinion on this one, and I do not believe pineapple belongs on pizza. So if there's pineapple, I'm out.
You know, I agree. I agree. I'm going to show this, but we'll talk about this later. Don't think I've got a section later on for this, but I do want to show it because so in the what evidence do we accept that proves an old earth? We're going to get onto creationism and stuff like that late in the second half of this stream. Thank you very much for the super chat, and we will answer that. We're going to chat about it later on. And Jack Feta says, looking at the flow of counter arguments, what would you? Right, okay. So I know you predicted a lot of the counter arguments. You did that brilliantly, but looking at them now, could you have even done extra little bits of prediction?
Yeah. So I've thought about this one a lot. The main difference, there's obviously a million differences, but the main difference between the moon landings and TFE was that when they were trying to go to the moon, they did not care what anybody who would become a flat earther would think. They weren't caring about what if someone says that we faked this. It was all about how do we get there? How do we survive? And how do we get everybody back alive? With TFE, we knew exactly how flat earthers think. We know how they argue. We know the types of arguments that they make. And so we were able to, preemptively and proactively get ready for those. And there just isn't much that has come up where after the fact, I'm like, oh, why didn't we do that? I could have flown my drone more, but people have to realize that Union Glacier is an active runway. And normally anybody that has a drone knows you can't fly a drone anywhere near an airport. It physically will stop you and you can't even take off. And so the fact that I received special permission to fly there was incredible. We got amazing drone footage, but there really isn't much at this point that I'm like, oh, I wish we would have done that or wish we would have done that. We tried to think of everything and we definitely thought of most.
I think you did a great job with that. There has been another chat coming, but every I'm going to say the next 5 questions, then we'll get back to questions super chat. So thanks to Turtle Moves, but I'm going to ask another 5 questions and we'll get to that. Okay, question 5, quick one. This, if looking back now, you took some big flat earthers down with you, and I know there was a lot you asked who said no. If you could go back in time and make one of the people who said no said yes, who would it be?
That's a tough one. It's a tough one because I actually think if certain people had said yes and Jaron didn't go, that this would not be going as well, right? But I think I would say Eric Dubé. The reason why is he's very opinionated on himself. He thinks very highly of himself and his arguments. When he came out right after the 24-hour sun and the midnight live stream that we did and said that we filmed it in an Amazon studio, I was like, so excited. I'm like, we won. That's exactly what this is about. Eric Dubé just showed his hand that he doesn't care about truth. He doesn't care about evidence. He'll just make up whatever to satisfy himself and his audience. And so had he gone, I think that would have been very good because he wouldn't have been able to deny what he saw with his own eyes. And I think he would have struggled to deal with his audience and his fans. So that would be the one.
That's a good answer. And I have seen people, 2 people say that, but still people say that they were hooked in by Eric Dubé, but they remember, they were such big Eric Dubé fans that they clearly remember how strongly he banged on about there being no 24-hour sun down there ever. And then now there is, he just says, well, yeah, it was seen years ago. We know there was, it's no big deal, and they're like, hang on, you are, this is massively dishonest here. And, and that has even kicked him out of flat earth. Okay. So we've done the TFE bit. We're moving on to the religion bit, and then we'll hit the creationism bit. So I am right. You are a pastor, aren't you?
That's right.
And a lot of people have flat Earth beliefs because of I don't know anything about but I can't quote anything, so I might sound very ignorant here, but because they think the Bible says so, right, or other texts say so. Do any of your do you call it a congregation when you were a pastor? Is that what you use?
Yeah,
okay.
that's
So
right.
do any of your congregation have like biblical flat Earth beliefs?
Absolutely not. No, and none of them did either.
Well, that actually makes me ask another question. Why? What are they seeing in the Bible to make them think that the earth is if you were to steel man their position, let's put it that way, could you steel man their position?
I could try. So before I do that, they are actually coming to the Bible with their flat earth presupposition. That's important. They are being convinced of flat earth first, then they're being shown things in scripture and someone's telling them, see, this is it. And so it's definitely confirmation bias. The Bible does not talk about the shape of the earth whatsoever. It does not. It doesn't talk about it one way or the other. So that is, they're not going to consider that a steel man, but that is the reality of the situation. There are what I would call very, very minor hints about the earth and about the universe in the Bible, but that's about it.
So is it a bit like gematria or numerology in the way that it only ever works retrospectively, or Nostradamus' predictions? You know, you are aware of something or you believe in something, and then you just fit the numbers or whatever to fit your belief. Is it that kind of thing?
It is, but I also need to, be honest here and come down on Christians a little bit, including myself, which is that I think Christianity and theologians have a tendency to do this as well. So they'll hold on to some sort of a belief or an idea, and then they'll go find Bible verses that support it. They'll ignore the ones that don't support it. And I think this is an issue that we all have issues with, that we need to be on the lookout for, which is we need to be objective. We need to not be subjective, and we need to be totally honest about looking for the truth, but also being able to admit when we're wrong. And so I'm not the enemy. A lot of people think I am, but I'm definitely not. And the more we have conversations like this about religion and the Bible and science, people will start to realize why my views and who I am are light years different from a flat earther.
Brilliant. Cygnus, I can never pronounce that, says, I'm a bit out of my league here. And I am. I can't quote anything to do with tech. So, but it's an interview, not a debate. But I am. I don't know anything about the Bible at all, unfortunately. Okay. So for those who do consider themselves to be biblical flat earthers, if their position was challenged, for example, by seeing the 24-hour sun, and they were like, oh, my flat earth belief is wrong, even though you're saying, they came to the Bible with the flat earth, they've convinced themselves that it's in the Bible. Do you think they struggle? People like Dean Odell, do you think they are struggling because for them now rejecting flat earth means they have to reject the Bible? Is that a thought process you think they're going through? Or
that's a really good question, and I don't know the answer to that. But I will say something that I don't know if I've said publicly yet. Dean Odell said something that most people have completely missed, maybe everyone. When TFE first happened, and it was confirmed there was a 24-hour sun, Dean Odell said publicly to his congregation that we didn't think that they would notice the shadows in our videos. That's it. Okay, now let me explain what he meant. What he meant was they're experts in looking at shadows and seeing issues like, for example, converging shadows on the moon, but the moon only has one light source. And so he was implying that we were not in Antarctica. There was not only one light source, the sun, and that we were in a studio. So what that tells me was that he was wrestling with how to get out of this and how to argue away from this. Then he didn't put out another statement for about a week or two, and he probably saw videos where we were showing that the shadows are parallel. You just have to get high enough, and then it's just a matter of perspective. And then that's when he changed to the whole Satan craziness. So we have a little bit of insight into his mind, and his mind was just, how can I explain this away? As to your question, if that's what someone thinks, that they would have to reject the Bible because of this, then they really just don't have a strong understanding of the Bible, in my opinion.
Okay. And what you were saying about Dean Odell, Dean Odell. I've been pronouncing it wrong all this time. I remember you also mentioning his debate with, was it Pastor Dean Locke, where he actually said
Greg Locke,
sorry, where he actually said, let's settle it and go down and see, and see it. It's has he ever mentioned his kind of like hypocrisy on that point he made?
I don't think so. He's made some pretty veiled threats to me about this.
Threats?
Yeah, like he'll come after me legally and everything, and it's like, I'm only using your own words. So number one, he made one of the strongest statements in the history of flat Earth, which is that if you want to settle the whole debate, you just go to Antarctica for a few days in the summer and you watch what the sun does. So that's as strong as it gets. So obviously he was wrong. He has now come out and said that he doesn't even need to go to Antarctica. So he has not admitted to being wrong, and he's just digging his heels in.
Wow. I mean, it amazes me that he's making. I mean, I won't go into it because I don't want to land you in trouble. But it's amazing me that he's reacting in that way, especially as the things he said are up there on YouTube for anybody in the world to see. But I won't make you go into that for obvious reasons. Okay. So Whitsitt and Jaron are both religious. Now, I've heard Whitsitt since say, okay, we've seen the 24-hour sun, but, it's God's creation. He can do it as he wants, and we've just got to accept we can't understand it, etc. I know Jaron is religious to a lesser extent, and obviously he's not a flat earther anymore. But while you were going down there, did any part of you feel caught between two worlds where obviously you're a pastor, you have your religious beliefs, and that, you probably got an 80-90% crossover in that with Jaron and Whitsitt, and maybe some camaraderie in that. I don't know. And then you've got Dave McKeegan on the side, who's a lot more scientific. Did you feel like caught between two worlds? Any weirdness with that?
It definitely came up for sure. So there's things that I agree with the flat earthers on, that I disagree with the globers on, but that to me is just part of life, right? What we were doing was very specific, right? We were specifically working on something together. And so even though I might have disagreements on the existence of God or the age of the earth with people on the globe side, we came together with a purpose, a stated goal of, we need to show these flat earthers that they're wrong. And so it was easy to be on a team with somebody that has disagreements with me. But also we're human beings and we're adults. And so it was also easy to fellowship with everybody, even though I know I have disagreements with everyone on both sides.
Okay, so we've now done the biblical flat earth bit. We've done the TFE, the biblical flat earth bit. And now I did email you a while ago and I said, I don't want to ambush you with anything to do with creationism or anything like that. And you said, it's okay, I'm cool to talk about anything. And, and I promised you I wasn't going to ask you any, try and debate you on anything or anything like that. But I'm going to ask a few creation related general questions, if that's okay. But I'm not grilling you. I'm not hijacking you. And if you feel I am, you can share the email I sent you with the world and, and show me up to be dishonest. But I hope these questions are going to be as I pitched them.
Yeah, as I said, I'm definitely not the enemy here. I'm very easygoing. People can ask me whatever they want, whenever they want. All good.
Well, the reason I mentioned it is because, like I say, I've got a debate online with Kent Hovind actually, which went really quite. I'm not going to say viral, but it was quite well known in the community. It was fantastic. I've done quite a few debates against creationists, and they've always been fun. They've actually always been a lot more pleasant that they have been with flat earthers who tend to get a little bit more aggro. But my question is this: do you see any parallels between people who are biblical flat earthers, given the fact that not everybody believes in the Bible is a flat earther, and biblical creationists, given the fact that not everyone who believes in the Bible is a creationist? And before I ask that, there's two channel members, Greg Mandy 9939, can't pronounce that, and Dora. They both posted on a members video questions which kind of encapsulate. I've combined their question. It kind of encapsulates that feeling. So I just want to thank you for the members for that. And Arcanics was question 4. I should have shouted you out then. Sorry. So yeah, do you see any parallels or?
I do not. Okay. Now that's going to set a lot of people off. So the first thing people need to realize is you need to know who you're dealing with. Number one, right? There are people who are driven and they make their decisions based on their emotions. And I don't think that's wrong. I think we're all made differently. We're all wired differently, right? I am driven by logic. Okay. So I'm giving everybody a huge hint here. I'm giving you some very important information. If you want to convince me that I'm wrong, use logic. And if you use illogical arguments, this is how my brain works. I'll immediately think that you're not going to do anything here. So the first thing that I think of when people bring this up is when I run it through my logical mind, we can't say that there is a difference. I'm sorry, we can't say that there's no difference between determining something in our present and determining something that happened in the past. Those are just completely different. They're not even in the same conversation. So the final experiment was about what is the shape of the earth that we all live on right now? The earth that we can touch, the earth that we can see, the earth that we can test. That is so different than trying to determine the reality of the earth thousands or millions or billions of years ago when none of us were there. So I don't see the parallel from that in that at all. And so when people try to compare me to a flat earther, it's completely false. I'm not taking a position on something that is in our present world that we can easily do a test on and show that one side is wrong.
Okay. And like I say, I'm not trying to debate you on any of this. It is just an interview. So I know there were people in the chat saying, ask him this, ask him that. I'm not going to ask him this or ask him that. Because otherwise I would have said in the email.
I want to say something right now. So I want to highlight, if you could bring it up on the screen, highlight DP Debunk's last comment.
DP Debunk.
It's like 8 comments back.
DP. Good to see you here, DP. Where is he? I will find it.
Okay. It's right before Uncle Charlie and right after Coco Rose. What he's saying here is to just ask me. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So here's the important thing. People are making comments in the chat that are wrong. And the reason it's wrong is because they don't ask me or they don't research or they don't know me. So you need to know who you're dealing with. When I go into a debate, like we talked about before, I'm going to research my opponent. So number one, just so people know, I had to take over our church because our pastor died unexpectedly. So to take a position that our church's website is something that I created and wrote all the content on, and therefore I believe it all, is false. I inherited a church, and I inherited everything that was all this content on the website and all of that. So that's number one. Number two, people assume that me being young Earth means I believe the Earth is 6,000 years old. That's false. Okay. So people would know that if they just talk to me and they just ask me. So DP Debunks here is saying the right thing, which is contact me. My email's on my website. It's out there. People contact me every day. They find a way to get a hold of me or just ask me right here. So this is a big one for me, is find my position and then we can have a conversation. That way we're not opening up the conversation with a straw man.
Yeah, like that. But to be honest, my personal view, I'm going to get to a couple of these super chats in a minute. My personal view, and I have said this before, and people in the comments, my comments of the videos have said to me, why don't you ask, why don't you ask Will this? Why don't you ask Will that? Or when I've been making videos about the final experiment, how can you make this video without saying this, that, and the other? My personal belief is that if somebody believes something, that's fine. As a science teacher of over 20 years now, my bugbear comes when people open big YouTube channels and start taking money off people and then either deliberately lying about about scientific facts. Like, for example, you can't have gas pressure next to a vacuum, completely ignoring the pressure gradient, etc. I don't like that, because I don't like the idea of teaching kids and then, them having that almost erased by people that offer them just this very easy alternative that leads them down a rabbit hole. If somebody just believes something and they believe it, and they're not, putting out content to thousands of people that that contradicts what's being taught in the classroom, I don't feel any need to challenge it. So I hear what you're saying, but you don't have a big creation channel where you're talking about radiometric dating, for example. So there's no point, there's no need for me to bring that up. With we just have different beliefs on that area, and I'm fine with that. Kent Hovind, on the other hand, he does make lots of videos, so I like to challenge those. It's not that I don't want people thinking I don't like people having certain beliefs or whatever. But anyway, this is about you, not me. I don't want to get sidetracked. So, Turk Moves, we've got a couple more questions on creationism, but I did say I'd hit some super chats after 5 questions, and we've got 13 minutes left, everybody. So if you have got questions, start to get them ready. I've got a few more here. In your debates so far, who was most difficult to keep on topic?
I just don't remember. It's hard to keep a flat earther on topic. There was someone that I debated that just kept changing the topic, and I let them, and I don't remember who that was. But it is hard to keep flat earthers on topic, because if you kind of nail them, they just move on to something else. And so I have learned from that experience, and I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. I'm actually going to be debating Sean Griffin, if you know who that is.
I saw the breakdown on Standing for Truth channel. Actually, next time you speak to Donnie, say hello from me. I've debated him a couple of times, but we get on really well. I like Donnie. I've got a lot of time for him. So say hello from me. Okay. I'll be in the chat for that one.
Yeah, I've been told Sean Griffin likes to stay off topic, and so I'm absolutely not going to let him get away with that.
It was a bit of a frosty debate setup, that one. Have you got history?
We do. A little bit of history. Yeah, we do have history. So he is, he's taking it personal that people are leaving flat earth. And so I think he's trying to, I don't mean this in a negative light, but I think he's trying to be the savior and come in, because I'm doing debate. I'm not looking for these debates. Okay. I'm not seeking them out. People are coming to me. Like, someone came to me, Will, I want you to debate Stephen Alonzo. I'm a fan. Great. I'll do it. Nathan Thompson and Modern Day Debates came to me. Will you come debate Nathan Thompson at MDD? Sure. I'll debate anybody. But now the flat earth community is acting like I'm cherry picking the easiest flat earthers to debate, which is false. These people are all coming to me. And the reality is the bigger names, they would never debate me. Austin Whitsitt would never debate me on flat earth because of TFE. Eric Dubé would never debate me because of TFE. Flat Earth Dave would not. So that's the reality of the situation. So I will take what comes to me, and here we go.
Brilliant. We did do this one before, didn't we? We talked about what you do differently, given the fact you predicted. Yes, I just didn't want to forget that one from Jack. Okay, from Second Best Bob. Does anyone understand the Bible? There seems to be lots of different understandings. Mm-hmm. Why didn't God make it more simple?
Yeah. So here's the reality with the Bible, right? This is true of anything, right? When you go to the Louvre, is that where the Mona Lisa is? People are still trying to interpret artwork, and they're still trying to figure out, well, here's what they were trying to show, and here's what's behind it. We just don't know. So when it comes to, these documents, these ancient documents that talk about history, we're always trying to figure out and understand what it is, right? As to why didn't God make it more simple? There's no way to answer that, right? Maybe he did make it simple in his mind. I don't know, but we're all trying to understand it. We're all trying to interpret it. And that's the same for all historical documents, not just the Bible. And I think that makes life fun. I enjoy following archaeology to find new discoveries that are going to give us more of an insight into the past. This is exciting to me. It's not a negative thing.
But Brenda Crate says, if young Earth creationism is true, nothing can be older than it says. Not Q. I'm not sure what Q means there. Not Q. There are things older than young Earth creation claims, hence it's not true. I'm not sure what Q means there, but
okay, let's deal with this, because people are making way too big of a deal about this in my mind. All right. So number one, I've said this before, I'll keep saying it again. The age of the Earth and the age of the universe are not a big deal to me at all. And so I'm interested in debating other things like the existence of God, for example. That excites me. And so I am willing to grant, just so we can move on, I'll grant anybody whatever age they think the Earth is, I'll grant that so that we can move on to more important things. But let me tell you why it's not a big deal to me. It's not a big deal to me because I can't solve a problem. And here's the problem I cannot solve. Again, this is just a hypothetical example, so deal with it. If God exists, and if God came to me and he created a tree right in front of me, okay? He just made this seed that was laying on the ground. He just made it grow into a fully formed tree. I don't know how I could convince anyone that tree was young. We've all seen countless trees in our life. We know how long it takes them to grow. And so me trying to convince somebody that tree is young, I think would be an impossible task. And so where I'm at with my position on God is I don't believe God would create a universe that wasn't usable by humans. And so the humans wouldn't have to wait for the trees to grow before they had fruit. They wouldn't have to wait for the starlight to be seen so that they could see the stars at night and use them for navigation, etc. Right? And so that is a problem that I see as irreconcilable in my mind. Is if God created a mature universe, how would I ever convince somebody of that? And I don't think I can. So, for example, I'll steel man you guys. If you came to me or anybody and said, Will, how can the Earth be young if we have starlight that would take so way longer to get to Earth? I think that's a valid argument, and I don't think I can convince you that you're wrong on that. And so that's why I'm just like, I'd rather get to more important issues. I believe God created starlight that was visible, right? Just like creating a fully formed tree. And so I just kind of see it as like an impasse. But to me, it's like, okay, that's more of a symptom. What's the actual underlying issue here? The underlying issue usually is, oh, you don't believe in God. I do. Let's talk about that instead. That to me seems to be way more important.
But I've got some more questions left. We've had just 2 more super chats come in, and I've got to read them. Unfortunately, they are about this topic, and I didn't mean to ask you as many questions on this.
It's okay. It's great.
I'd feel like I was robbing people if they put them in and I didn't. So is the young Earth model that you have or know of that can explain speciation?
Okay. So keep this question up, please.
Okay.
Number one, when people are doing this in the comments, and again, you're going to lose me because you're not being logical. So people in the comments are trying to compare me to a flat earther, right? Here's why that's completely false. Flat earthers go around saying, I know the globe better than you. I have this flat earth model. You're dumb. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm smart. That is not what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm not going around telling people, oh, you believe the earth is old? You're wrong. I know science better than you. I'm not. What I'm saying is I have an opinion. I currently hold an opinion. I admit it is not my area of expertise. I admit I could be wrong, and I welcome conversations about it. So that's huge. Okay. That's why I'm not the enemy. So this question here, I have to say no, because this is not my area of expertise. Now, with that said, I do know the importance of the fossil record, and I can just right now repeat things that I've heard, but I'm not speaking from an educated place on this issue. I have a personality of wanting to know everything about everything. And one of the saddest days of my life was when I realized I'm not going to be able to be an expert in everything. I'm going to have to pick something. And I chose finances. Okay. But I have heard people say, and again, these are people that would, disagree with mainstream science, is that the fossil record does not contain transitional species. And so I don't know if that's true. It's an argument. It's something that's in the back of my mind that I've heard over the years. But again, I am willing to have conversations with people. I invite it. I'm also open to being wrong. And I can't think of anything that you should want more in a person than someone that is going to admit they're not an expert in something, welcome conversations, and be open to being wrong.
No, very much agree. Very much agree. And you're not the enemy. A lot of these questions are diving in on that topic. But when I've made my other videos about TFE, the comments about you have been overwhelmingly positive. So I feel like you've been put under the cosh with these, and I really didn't mean it to be that way. There is one last one. Oh shit, no, there's two more. Another one's coming. I suppose PhD Tony, absolute legend of a guy. I suppose simple yes, no, really. Do you think Noah's flood is symbolic or an actual historic event?
Yeah, but by the way, I will stay on to answer these questions. We can go over time. It's okay.
Are you sure? Because I know I said just an hour. I don't want to be.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I enjoy this. Okay, this is different than my normal TFE interviews, and so I'm enjoying this because it's stimulating my mind, and I'm not just telling the same stories over and over again. So my current position is yes, I do believe that there was a global flood. So I do believe that Noah's flood was a historical event. Cool. Now, is this something that I've researched? No. Am I a geologist? No. Could I be wrong? Yes. Why do I believe this? I have seen how historically reliable the Bible is. Hopefully people on the other side who disagree with me will not fight me on that because you're going to lose me, right? Archaeologists use the Bible to interpret what they're digging up because it's proven to be such a reliable historical document. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So could the Bible be wrong on this? The answer is yes. And so what do we need to do? We need to go look for evidence. We need to go look for things that will tell us one way or the other if there was a global flood. Now, I will mention this, which is I had a conversation with Aaron Ra. I'm sure you know who that is. He seems to be a big name. This is on YouTube. It's not hidden or anything. And I told him that I do believe that the earth was flooded once. And I told him, and again, this is me just repeating a talking point. I told him that there have been marine fossils found on every mountain range in the world. And he told me I was wrong. So I looked into it after that conversation, and I'm still being told by multiple people that there are marine fossils in every mountain range in the world, including on Mount Everest. So I don't know who's right or wrong on that one. But he and I started talking, and I asked him for a place in the world that was not underwater at one point. And the only example he gave me was a place in Arkansas. Now that seemed kind of weird to me. I don't know what it means. Aaron Ra and I had a good conversation, and I ended up emailing him afterward as a follow-up, which he then replied, and that conversation is kind of stopped. But again, I'm open to having conversations with guys like Aaron Ra. So PhD Tony, he and I know each other behind the scenes. We are on a first name basis. We can text each other. And so I do appreciate PhD Tony asking this question. And I'm glad, because I want you to know where I'm coming from. But as of right now, I do believe it was a historical event.
Cool. There were three more, but just to remind everyone in the chat, I know Will's been very gracious to say, he'll stay and answer these, but we did agree an hour, and he's a very, very busy man, and we have hit the hour. So maybe stop sending super chats in would be a great plan at this point, because I feel obligated to read them out. So please don't send any more, but thank you anyway. Left-handed Jedi. Again, I feel obligated to put them on screen. I don't know much about Sumerian mythology. So I'm not sure if there is a mirror there. Is that something you're familiar with?
Yeah. So making a statement like something clearly didn't happen, that's not really how the world works in my mind, right? Historians speak in like percentages, and even science doesn't claim to prove things, but they say we're very confident about our position on this. And so making a statement like it clearly didn't happen, I think that's pretty bold of us to state that something didn't happen when we can look at evidence and interpret it certain ways. I'm not familiar with Sumerian mythology, but I will say this, which is if we see two records of a story, instead of assuming, well, it's just a copy, it could be that something actually happened and it's two accounts of the same events. So there's just other ways to think about it.
Brilliant. Thank you. We have this question. Well, it's not a question, it's a statement. Most of the universe isn't usable by humans. Absolutely. Thank you, Second Best Bob. And you are mocked. Whose channel I would definitely recommend subscribing to, by the way. You are not the enemy, Will, but I suppose for fun. And now, I mean, obviously, I know what your answer is going to be here. It's going to be the Earth is flat. So
right, yeah, exactly. So obviously, what's more ridiculous is believing that the Earth is flat. That is more ridiculous, because trying to figure out what happened 10,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, 1,000,000,000 years ago, none of us were there. So we're interpreting something through various lenses that just make it more difficult. I'm not saying we can't be confident about certain things, but it is absolutely different to talk about the present versus the past. And I do believe, I wish I could remember this. You're a science guy. There's something in science where science assumes that there's never been significant events in the past. Am I making sense?
Oh, I'm a high school science teacher, so it's a bit out of my field. I'm not sure what.
I wish somebody in the chat. I wish somebody in the chat could tell me what this is. But there's like a principle in science that states we're going to interpret the evidence as if there was never anything that was significantly different or crazy that happened in the past. And I don't remember what that is, but to me, that's already an issue. Yes. Thank you, PhD Tony. Uniformitarianism. And again, I'm showing my hand here that I'm not an expert in this, but I don't even think that should necessarily be a proper way of looking at the world, is this uniformitarianism lens. I think we should be open to, well, maybe something did happen that is significant in the past, and just try to interpret what we see through that in that way.
Brilliant. And there's two more, but you would please know there's no questions in them. One of them is from Professor Park saying, I will send a super chat, you don't control me. So thank you, but it didn't contain a question, which is excellent. And the total moves. Oops, I sent another one. Thank you very much. Also, it doesn't contain a question. Listen, Will, the primary reason, obviously, I wanted to get you on was to really just kind of like celebrate really how successful the final experiment has been. And obviously you did that a huge expense to yourself in terms of time and in terms of finance. But what you've actually done is improved a lot of people's lives. It's not just about, oh, we've seen the 24-hour sun. The knock-on effect from that, the people who are now not flat earthers, who are not looking at every single corner of their life, thinking they're being lied to about things. You know, there are people who are living a normal life now because of the investment of time and money that you put into that. So on their behalf, I really want to say thank you so much for that. I've never seen anything like it in this community in the 7 or 8 years I've been involved in it. So yeah, great job. Thank you. And thank you so much for giving me your time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the last word to say whatever you want. When you say goodbye, I'm going to play your theme tune again. Now, I know you're very busy, so you may leave, obviously, when I play your theme tune, and I will send you a thank you over email. Or if you want to say a quick goodbye when your theme tune has finished, hang on and I'll say a quick goodbye. I won't be offended if you duck out. It's up to you. But I'm going to say thank you to the chat. Last thing I'll say to the chat is, if you know me and you have my phone number on WhatsApp and you want to come on and just have an hour's stream after this, a secondary stream, just to shoot the breeze and have a chat and talk about flat earth, hit me up on WhatsApp and I'll fire up another stream in about 10 minutes. But if not, I won't. So Will, I will play your song when you say goodbye, but from now you get to say whatever you want to say.
Great. Yeah. Again, thanks for having me. A lot of people have been chomping at the bit to talk to me about other things other than flat earth. And so I kind of gave you the first opportunity for that because you asked. It's that simple. It's a very simple principle, right? Ask and you shall receive. But I do appreciate you seeing the magnitude of what we've done with TFE. It really has changed the world. It has been historic. It will always be historic. And the reality is that I'll tell everybody the moment I knew all of this was worth it, right? People still try to tell me that it was a waste of money. People still try to tell me it was a waste of time. The moment I knew all of it was worth it was when Jaron told me personally. He said, Will, thank you. I no longer am going to raise my son as a flat earther. We can't comprehend.
That's good.
We can't comprehend or calculate how his son's life's trajectory is now going to completely change to someone who is going to be respected in the community, not made fun of, not looked down upon, and who knows what his son will accomplish. And so just that right there makes all of it worth it. But then everybody else that's getting out of flat earth, it's just so cool. And I'm excited about the documentary. Let's not forget, the documentary is going to be powerful because it's going to show a lot of things that happened while we were there. And I think it's going to even reach a bigger and greater audience. So thank you so much for having me on.
And here's your theme tune again. If you disappear, I will email you and say thanks. But if you're still there at the end, I'll say thank you personally. And thank you to everyone in the chat. And remember, if you've got me on WhatsApp or whatever, drop me a message. And if there's enough, well, if there's one of you, I'll fire up another stream just for the hell of it. Here's your tune.
Okay, so if I want to go to the South Pole, how do I get there on a flat earth?
By going to.
You don't think Satan could pull that off?
Satan.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you something else.
Now it's Satan.
Will Duffy raised his fist high, took the naysayers on a wild ride to the land of eternal light, where shadows never hide. Across the icy plains they roamed, searching truth where glaciers loom. Flat earthers full of pride saw their beliefs consumed, and his name is Will Duffy. Changed the game, changed it swiftly. Now they see the world ain't flat. Thank Will Duffy for that.
Where is the South Pole?
Antarctic sun shone bright and clear. Round the clock, no dark, no fear. Minutes turned to hours flown. Truth loud like the wind's groan. Eyes widen, no more lies. Humbled by the endless skies. They felt the world turn beneath. Admitted false belief, and his name is Will Duffy. Changed the game, changed it swiftly. Now they see the world ain't flat. Thank Will Duffy for that.
The so-called final experiments 24-hour Antarctic sun